Hi there, everyone. This is Sharon with Self Care You podcast, the number one self caregiver in the world. And with this podcast is the intersection of self care, advocacy, and compassion for self caregivers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so, for this episode, what we will talk about transparent moment. And so, when you're thinking about this, think about transparent moment for yourself. So, two things I really want to cover or to address is those moments in which transparent moment, like when it comes to life, that like we kind of hear that saying that tomorrow is never promised. Let's kind of leave it like that. Tomorrow is never promised, and kind of like, what does that mean, to you? And then the other piece to that is a lot of times we don't think about the financial impact of tomorrow. It's never promised. And all of this kind of goes into of being a self caregiver, and especially if you are an entrepreneur, business owner, a self care entrepreneur. And so, what I want to start off is saying that one of the main reasons that I called it a transparent moment because I was literally just reading an article, and it kind of had me a little teary eyed because, oh, to a certain extent, it's like I can relate, but then it also reminded me of how blessed that I am. And so, with the article, it was talking about two parents with three children under the age of 5. Both of the parents were diagnosed with cancer, both of them, both of them within months of each other. And so there are so many things that kind of went into that article in which they addressed. Now, the moment where it became very emotional for me is with the husband because, oh, his story was very similar to mine. But of course, in the differences, and I'll tell you where mine, what I really call blessings come from. And then I want to say, even when I look at kind of where I am when it comes to the self care arena, because it's about taking care of ourselves. And we need to remember, too, we need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves financially and not just with a job itself. Okay. So, pretty much with the husband, he went to the eye doctor's appointment, very similar to mine, so he can get another pair of glasses. Same for me. And when he got there, the doctor told him that he had optic nerve swelling. Exactly the same thing happened to me. My doctor said, "Oh, I wasn't expecting to see that," and I'm like, "I wasn't expecting to hear that." So with the husband, with him, he was told that he needed to get a emergency MRI. No, he went to a specialist before he did that. And then that specialist told him he needed to get an emergency MRI. And pretty much exactly the same thing. I was told that I needed to see a specialist and highly recommended that I get an MRI. The specialist who recommended a emergency MRI. And for me, the good thing is they didn't see anything else. Unfortunately for this husband, he was diagnosed with a tumor. For what they can see, and also he had to have emergency surgery because of that. I did not have to have surgery, and that's pretty much just kind of like where the point where I saw like, oh my gosh, I'm just so blessed because I know even with that particular diagnosis with the optic nerve swelling, and I forget the name of the cancer that he has, because with my diagnosis it was a different diagnosis, but when it came to what led to it, or shall I say, the unfolding and how they discovered was there was very similar because I did have the optic nerve swelling and is and so, in saying all of that, the thing that I really want to talk about, is like, and the other piece, let me add before I get to that point, is that with the husband and wife, and especially with the husband, he said it allowed him to look at life so different now. He really took that opportunity to really look at life, and they were able to remove what they needed to remove, but we're saying that the cancer is not reversible, and he has like 12 to 18 months. That's what they estimated. And of course, he is like, I'm going to beat this cancer, and we're going to do everything that they can to do that. And like I said, he said that it gave him a different leaf on life. And so, along with that, it's like, what about you? What does it allow when things occur or don't occur? Because that's the key, is that when things are standing still, we're like, oh, we're on this happy go around and nothing changes in our lives. And what you could say, we're sharing, nothing needs to change, but it never prepares us for when life unfolds either. And so there was two things that I wanted to look up on here. Yes, yes, yes. And so when it comes to me, and just give me one minute. Didn't really realize that I needed this. With me, my diagnosis is idiopathic intracranial hypertension, and pretty much what that is that the spinal fluid produces too much fluid, and I didn't have any headaches, and he reported of having headaches. And with his diagnosis, let me see if I can find that quickly. It was something, I'm not even sure if I can say it, but I'm pretty sure it's a rare diagnosis. But one of the things that he has said in that it has given him a different leaf on life, in which not to take anything, for granted, to really enjoy spending time with family and friends, and making sure that he's able to do that. And let's see. This is what he said. He said that, honestly, I have an entire new outlook on life. It is a blessing in a way. He's talking about the tumor being a blessing. He feels like that his eyes are open for the very first time. That's deep, because it impacted his eyes. And that he's fully awake and aware of what life is all about. And I think that, to me, when I read that too, that it allowed me to kind of really relive to a certain extent, even though I knew how best that I was, in that, what can you identify in your life that you may have thought that was horrible, but you do see it as a blessing, where it allow you to move different, to do something different. So what's your transparent moment? What are some things in your life that you can pinpoint, in which you can say it changed your life forever? And when I say change, not that where you're down and out, even though you may have felt that way, because remember, with self care is to be able to take those things in life and to make it better, to be able to transform yourself from something that was very challenging, very hard, it can be very devastating. The other piece of that, especially for you all who have been listening to Self Care You um, nugget, is that I've been talking about challenges. So what's your heart? What's your challenge? Because what I have come to realize, we try our best to avoid it, but we need those things to help us grow, to help us evolve, to be able to see things and be, clear on our path. And it's not even on our path to happiness. This is on our path to life because everything is included, when it comes to that. And so be vulnerable in your transparent moment to allow those times to really to define who you are. And when I say that, meaning that they don't define who you are, but it define where you can go with it. Because even in saying that, I can remember there was a very stressful time in my life. And I was just telling one of my friends, it's like, yeah, during that experience, even though I knew I was going to be okay, and I say out of it, I could say in the beginning of it, it's like, oh, my life would never be the same. And now I'm like, yeah, my life would never be the same. So, what about you? Where in your life when you felt that your life is not going to be the same because of those transparent moment, or your life is not going to be the same? Of course, that's on the other side. Just like the butterflies, you can easily say that, right? Now, the other part of this is that when it comes to life defining moments, and especially when it comes to our health, it's nothing that no one can prepare for. And with this particular family, of course, like both parents were working, they have three young kids just on the top of life. I want to say they're in their 30s. He's in his upper 30s. I can't remember how old the exact age that the wife is, but they're both in their 30s. I mean, just living life, and no one's think about this. And one of the things that I'm doing now as part of, self care is the Financial Freedom Crusader. It's like what comes along with that, we really need to start thinking about and start preparing and at least having things in place just in case. You can always use the money for something else, or your family can use the money if you never used it for, not even, it's not even an intention. We just never know. Because even with the diagnosis that I have, there I cannot think of anything. I cannot think of anything that could have prevented that diagnosis, that could have prevented the optic nerve swelling. Even I've had a diagnosis of pituitary tumor. It has resolved itself over years, but it's taken over 10 years for it to resolve itself. That's with medication. And I like to say, maybe with my practice with yoga and meditation, may have helped it to resolve itself because I had been on that medication for so long. Again, how is your transparent moment preparing you for life? And so, again, when it comes to the different types of self-care apps that you can put in place, that is so important throughout the day to be able to do that. And that comes with our first sponsor, which is Sharon D. Brown with Rest, Rejuvenate, and Recover Self-Care Apps. And so make sure you go to RRR practices so that you can get these practices. So when there are transparent moments within your life, you will have practices, self-care apps in place that you can do. And I really encourage you to continue to do these things, and most definitely to do these things on a regular basis. And then the other sponsor that leads us into this is again the Financial Freedom Consult. And because we'll never be prepared for any of these things, however, you can be prepared for an unfortunate diagnosis of cancer, of a tumor, of chronic illness, with insurance, with retirement plan, with family planning, with legacy. Because what about those children that they have? What do they have in place for those children? And so, in saying all of that, they had either they or someone, let's just say, have requested a GoFundMe fund. And of course, no one predicts that. But what I'm here to say, let's start putting things in place with the money that you have. You don't need to be six figure. And if you are six figure, sometimes you can be financially comfortable and still not be prepared. You can be financially comfortable and still not be prepared. And so, in saying all of that, it is an unfortunate thing for that family, especially to have two, and they were able to, raise about $200,000, a little bit more than that, for that, and they'll use money for their mortgage, for the young children and to help with their care. And they also plan on donating funds for someone who's in the same, who experienced the same thing that they have, who would need that. And so, again, when it comes to these transparent moments, they allow us, they allow you to really look at yourself so that you can prepare yourself emotionally and financially for life because everything is um, unpredictable because again with the diagnosis of cancer with the I mean not cancer, oh, let's erase that, with the diagnosis of a tumor that could have turned into cancer because that's what happened with that guy, with the husband, and with the diagnosis of the optic nerve swelling, again. And on a side note, one thing I want to say too is that certain diagnoses are a symptom of something else. Because even with high blood pressure and even diabetes, sometimes they are not diseases or medical conditions of themselves. Sometimes they can be a symptom of something. And just like the optic nerve swelling for myself and that husband, it was a symptom. It wasn't just a disease or a medical condition, it was a symptom of something else. Mine was elevated spinal fluid, and his was a tumor. And so just pay attention to that. And even though you can sit here and say, well, Sharon, I'm taking care of myself, so I can do anything that I want because anything can happen. But one thing that I will say, the healthier that you are in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, and your pocketbook, your wallet, I would say your wallet, because there are men who's listening to this too. So you may not have a pocketbook, but the more that you are in abundance in all of those areas, it's going to help you out later in life. And so those transparent moments can really help you, even though it may make you feel down. That's a normal reaction. It's okay. But and not being in your feelings, that is going to take you so much further in life. And so having transparent moment is a self-care act. Having transparent moment is the thing that can help you level up in your business, level up in your life in order for you to have success in your life. And success in life is not just a job or a career, it's your life. It's so that you can be in a better way. And just know, even with the better way, there's still stuff coming down the pipe. That is life. But what matters more is where you are with yourself and where you are with the people around you. And so there's so many things that you can have more control over, especially when you embrace those transparent moments so you can get on with life and just know that you can have a peace of mind in the midst of chaos. And so, thank you for joining me for this episode of Self Care You podcast.